2025 has delivered some fantastic distance running moments. It's easy to think of the World Championships when considering which athletes performed the best, as Tokyo gave us some of the most memorable performances in history. But there were moments to savour throughout the year, from some crazy performances in major marathons, edge-of-the-seat finishes in the Diamond Leagues, and even the spree of world indoor records back in February and March. Today then, we are going to be counting down the top 5 male distance runners of 2025, men who have wowed us from the 800 metres right through to the marathon. Let's get right into it. At number 5, we have a somewhat controversial entrant. Cole Hocker might not be everyone's pick for this list. He finishes 2025 having not won a single 1500 metres or mile race outside of championship rounds, meaning many will question how he could possibly feature. But Hocker is all about peaking for the races that matter, and at the Tokyo World Championships, he delivered in emphatic style. Even after his win in the 5,000 metres at the US Championships, few people believed that Hocker could win in a fast race, with the 1500 metre man expected to struggle if the race was much faster than 13:20. But despite his fellow Americans working with the Ethiopians to make the race fast to his detriment, he showed admirable strength combined with a calmness under pressure to ride the train to the bell. He still had an awful lot to do at that point, but delivered a kick for the ages to pass 11 men over the last 400 metres and cruise home to the gold. Finishing in 12:58, the third fastest World Championship winning time ever, Hocker had turned the narrative on its head. He was no longer just a kicker. The manner in which he won, running a 52.6 second last lap and a 25.5 final 200 metres, laid down a huge marker, showing that suddenly he will be the man to beat in championship 5k races in future. While it might be unfair to say that this was a passing of the torch moment from Jakob Ingebrigtsen, winner of the last 3 global 5,000 metre finals, given that he was returning from injury here, it did show that if Jakob wants to beat Hocker in future, he will have to run better than ever before. A 13:10 race with a fast last kilometre just won't cut it anymore against a man of Hocker's calibre. Instead, it might require a sub 12:50 race with an extended kick for home, and as such, Hocker hasn't just won gold in Tokyo this year. He might have fundamentally changed the way the 5,000 metres is run. For the 4th placed athlete on this list, we go all the way up the distance scale to the marathon. It's difficult to make a season top list when only running twice, but Kenyan Sebastian Sawe is no ordinary runner. Sawe won't get the credit he deserves this year for 2 absolutely amazing performances. First, he blitzed one of the strongest marathon fields ever assembled in London, running 2:02:27 for the win, breaking away from a top-tier pack including half-marathon world record holder Jacob Kiplimo, Olympic champion Tamarat Tola, and marathon goat Eliud Kipchoge at the 30-kilometre mark, then running sub-2-hour marathon pace to the finish, to finish more than a minute clear. With the weather less than ideal in London, seeing bright sun and temperatures of 18 degrees Celsius by the finish, this was an exceptional second ever marathon from Sawe. But Sawe's London run paled in comparison to what he went on to achieve in Berlin. Running in temperatures that reached a stifling 25 degrees by the end, Sawe nonetheless set off at world record pace, splitting halfway in 60:16. With the last paces dropping out soon after, and no competitors in sight, he ploughed a lonely furrow towards the finish line, bleeding time as the weather got hotter and hotter, but still finishing in a barely believable 2:02:16. It's difficult to know just how good that run was. No one has come close to running that fast in 25-degree temperatures before. There are many online calculators out there that try to determine the impact of heat on marathoning performance, and most have it as equivalent to a performance well under 2 hours in optimal conditions. Even accounting for the fact that elites deal with temperature better than most runners, the most conservative estimation of his equivalent performance I could find was in a research paper on PubMed, which suggested he would have run 2 flat and 27 seconds in ideal conditions. To make the performance even more impressive, Sawe wanted there to be no doubt over the legitimacy of his run after a recent bout of doping cases in his native Kenya, with his sponsor Adidas paying for him to be randomly tested on 25 occasions in the 2 months leading in. Sawe has to be commended for this approach. Not only is he running fast times, but he is doing all he can to mend our confidence in the sport. Next up in third place, I have the man who Sawe beat in London, Jacob Kiplimo. While he did lose out in London, Kiplimo's body of work across the whole of 2025 is on balance a touch more impressive. He started off the year in style, with a performance that even on its own would have made him a shoo-in for this list. On the streets of Barcelona, he ran a stunning 56:42 for the half marathon, smashing the previous world record by nearly a minute. This time was unprecedented, going straight in as the best distance running performance of all time on the World Athletics scoring tables. The 1,323 points he received for this run put him ahead of Jakob Ingebrigtsen's 7:17 3,000 metres and well clear even of Kelvin Kiptum's legendary marathon world record, which scores 1,307. He quickly stepped up to the marathon, and despite losing out to Sawe in London, he still recorded one of the fastest debuts ever before stepping up to top place on the podium in Chicago, winning convincingly despite all the pre-race chatter being of John Correa's intention to run close to the world record. His finishing time of 2:02:23, while impressive, likely suffered from poor pacing. Goaded into a race with Correa and splitting 13:58 for the first 5 kilometres, he remained under world record pace well past the 35-kilometre point, before slowing down dramatically close to the finish. With more time to train for the marathon, Kiplimo is surely set to go much faster in 2026, and if another showdown with Sawe does happen, it could be one of the greatest marathon races of all time. For the second place runner on this list, we go back to the track for one of the most unexpected, but surely most popular, stars of 2025. Jimmy Gressier has had a season to remember. No one had him as a favourite going into that memorable World Championships in Tokyo, but he had quietly been building an impressive resume throughout the year. He ran PBs in 5 different distances leading into the championships, ranging from a 3:32 1500 metres all the way to a solo 59:45 half marathon to win at the European Road Running Championships. He then finished up his preparations in the best possible style, beating Grant Fisher and Andreas Almgren in a sprint to the line at the Diamond League final in Zurich. But despite all this success, he was still not expected to feature highly in the World Champs 10,000 metres. Billed as a race between traditional distance running superpower Ethiopia and the emerging Americans Grant Fisher and Nico Young, Gressier was barely an afterthought in the previews, not even being the most talked about European, with Andreas Almgren receiving that accolade. But when the final rolled around, Gressier executed his race plan to perfection. In a slow race, Gressier remained tucked in on the rail the entire way, letting others surge around him and waiting for the last possible moment to make his move. With just 100 metres to go, he finally came off the rail, accelerating hard down the home straight and past Ethiopian Kajelcha to take a memorable victory. But becoming the first non-African born winner of a World Championships 10,000 metre gold medal since 1983 wasn't enough for Jimmy. He went on to underline his class in the 5,000 metres, getting the bronze medal after another well-judged race. As the only man to win medals in 2 distance events at World Champs this year, and with the historic element of winning them as a European, it would be very tempting to award Gressier top spot. But to me, that place goes to a man who didn't just dominate his event this year, but did so in the most gutsy, courageous way possible. In the number 1 position, I have Kenyan 21-year-old 800-metre runner, Emmanuel Wanyonyi. Wanyonyi came into this year off the back of winning Olympic gold in 2024 and did everything possible to honour his position as a star of the sport. Not counting rounds or a race at Grand Slam track where he already had the title sewn up after his performance in the 1500, Wanyonyi ran 8 800-metre races this year against some of the deepest fields in history, yet went out to win all of them in the toughest way possible. Other than his Diamond League season opener in Rabat, he ran every race from the front, putting himself out there to be shot at every time, yet still finishing with 6 wins in 8 races and 3 141 clockings, the joint second most in a single season after the 4 he managed last year. The World Championships final was a case in point. He led gun to tape to take the win in 141.86, but that only told part of the story. A rejuvenated Marco Rop and Jamal Sajati, themselves 2 of the fastest over the distance of all time, tracked him throughout and looked to go past him with less than 100 metres to go. Wanyonyi looked spent, swimming in lactate, but showed his champion mindset by refusing to lose, clawing his way back to break the tape just ahead of his rivals. In front of the watching David Rudisha, Wanyonyi once again proved that he is a worthy successor to his legendary countryman. If and when he breaks Rudisha's world record remains to be seen, but one thing is for sure, he has already raced with all the heart and courage that Rudisha did back on that legendary night in 2012. And now it's time for you to have your say. Who do you think was the best male distance runner of 2025? Let me know in the comments below, and please remember to subscribe to catch more analysis throughout the off-season and into next year. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you in the next one.